All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Some Random Guy Speaks. I am your host, Tony Love, and we're about to get started today. We're going to be talking about, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the pivotal moment when blacks switch parties, right? That's the only party switch. Anybody else tell you otherwise, wasn't true. There's no myth. It's all a myth. It did not happen. But this happened, and we're gonna talk about it. But before we do, and things, we're gonna because I'm making a video this time though for time. I get a little lost in time when I'm on that live, but this is gonna be something great. There was a statement that Nick Cannon spoke out very recently. He was in the car with Alma Rose. They were cruising around and had these conversations and things like that. So we're going to tackle what he was talking about. Many of you should know by now, excuse me, that the Democrats, right, they are the ones that was behind Ku Klux Klan. In fact, the Democrats was pushing for slavery. They didn't want slavery to be abolished in 1865. So they were pushing it, right? There's a lot of historical moments and facts that have happened and stuff helped due to the Republicans and things. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. He's the one that freed the slaves, Emancipation Proclamation. This is why a lot of blacks, right, supported the Republicans, because the Republicans had a history helping black people out, black folks out, right? And we know that because we can basically tell, right? And things. We can basically tell what was going on, what was happening, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, so as we studied go forward, so the abolishment of slavery happened in 1865, right? And things. So when the abolishment of slavery happened, excuse me, we had some incidents. This is when the birth of the Ku Klux Klan started. The Ku Klux Klan was an angry Southern whites. A lot of them were Democrat, right? And they were liberals. And what did they do? They went out and terrorized black folks right after slavery was abolished, right? It was a mechanism to keep the fear rolling, right? Where they wear the white hoods and everything. So this is what historically has happened. So it terrified black people so much. We're talking about people being pulled out of their homes and all this other stuff. And we need to tell this history of what truly happened. This party, the Democrat Party, right? This party was actually, when we talk about the institution of slavery, the institution of the Ku Klux Klan, the institution, right, of segregation, right? We talk about Jim Crow laws, don't the black laws, Jim Crow laws, all that came right after the abolishment of slavery after 1865. Now, what happened is that the Republicans, on the other hand, were against it. They wanted to stop the spread of slavery heading out to the West. It was abolitionist blacks and the Whig Party, which was whites. They got together to stop this travesty, right? That was happening. This was a Republican thing. You can go and look it up, but that is the facts in regards to that. So therefore, the Republican Party, the good old party, right? They had a lot to do with the Reconstruction Era too, 1865, 1877. So in that time period, in that time span, black men were allowed to vote, right? And since they were allowed to vote, women were not at that time, but black men were able to vote. And black men worked in Congress. They were there, right? There's a lot of policies and things that blacks and whites worked together. After 1877, we already know what ended up happening. The Reconstruction period ended, and I believe it had a lot to do with Andrew Jackson and things that did not like that. He didn't like the blacks, you know what I'm saying, and so forth. So, in fact, when we start to look at this thing, that's going to fast forward, right? So we have in redlining too. So all these were Democrat policies, right? All these were Democrat policies that the Democrats created, right? Because it was a party. Originally was it started. Democrats started in 1828. Republican Party started in 1854, right? So therefore, if we were to move it up a little bit and things, so excuse me, if we were to talk about some of the things that have actually happened and things like that. So blacks back then, they knew, right? When we were to go to the turn of the century, there was a lot of blacks that still voted Republican because of Abraham Lincoln, right? So therefore, we talk about 1960, Richard Nixon, right? I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. Richard Nixon got about 32% of the black vote, right? And Dwight Eisenhower got around 39% of the vote. So these were the percentages that blacks were voting Republican, right? The others voted Democrat, right? We're talking about FDR Day, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? There's a lot of blacks that voted for him as well, and things. But here it is, 1964. There was a man by the name of Barry Goldwater, right? Barry Goldwater was a senator out of Arizona, right? And he was a Republican. And here it is. When Goldwater was trying to run, he was running as a Republican against Lyndon B. Johnson, right? So Goldwater only got 6 to 7% of the vote, maybe as low as 6%, with the black votes giving Lyndon B. Johnson a 94% edge, right? Because he basically got the majority of the vote. Got blacks jumped on board with that. Now, here's the reason what ended up happening, right? So therefore, this was a sharp, immediate drop. Black voters view Goldwater's stance, right, combined with his state rights, emphasize and acceptance of support of the Southern segregationists, right? Right? This is exactly what ended up happening. So, as a hostile to the civil rights movement, even if the personal motives were philosophical, right, rather than racial, the civic rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. actively opposed him, warning that his philosophy gave aid to confront the racists. And this is what ended up happening. Blacks knew that Goldwater signed, he didn't go against the segregationist, right? And Goldwater may have had he actually had his reason why he did not do it. But once again, Goldwater only won 6 states total. His home state is Arizona, as I mentioned, and 5 deep states, right? Which is Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Mississippi, South Carolina, that were reacting against the National Democrat Party push for civil rights. This marked the beginning of the South long-term shift towards the GOP, but at the cost of alienating the black vote nationwide, right? And that's what ended up happening. He alienated the black vote, right? Now, looking at it right now, Goldwater had reportedly said in 1961 something to the effect of, "We're not going to get the Negro vote as the blacks, as the block in 1964 and 1968. So we ought to go hunting where the ducks are," meaning focusing on the white Southerner voters, the delusion with the Democrats, right? This approach, later refined by Richard Nixon, prioritized winning the white conservatives in the South over the maintaining the black support. The black voters had already been shifting towards the Democrats since the New Deal for economic reasons, but in 1964, it accelerated into the near total realignment. No Republican presidential candidates have come close to Nixon since 1960. Shared sense, right? And this is exactly what ended up happening. Uh, Goldwater lost his land, right? His landslide for many reasons beyond race. His perceived extremism on foreign policies, except, for example, nuclear issues rejected by moderate Republicans, and Johnson's popularity after JFK assassination. The GOP party was historically more supportive of civil rights than the Democrats, who included the Southern segregationists, right? Many Northern Republicans backed the 1964 Act. You hear me? The Republicans backed the 1964 Act, but some argue Goldwater was unfairly painted as a racist for the principal stance on the federal overreach and the Democrat embrace under the act. Under LB was the bigger driver for the shift. Black support for Democrats was already growing, but Goldwater candidacy crystallized the break, right? And that's what ended up happening, right? In short, yes, Goldwater's decision on Civil Rights Act is the pivotal moment. Historians, damn, trying to get that out. So a pivotal moment. Historians and analysts pointed for the why Black voters decisively left, right? The Republican Party starting in 1964. It wasn't the sole cause of the partisan realignment, but it was the most visible and the immediate one. The effects on voting patterns have lasted for decades, and that's exactly what ended up happening, ladies and gentlemen. This was the pivotal moment. Barry Goldwater, 1964. Since he didn't stand against the segregationist whites in the South, here it is. And this was the pivotal moment. It was in 1964. You know, this what happened. It was a shift, is more shift of blacks shifted on the Democrat side. It was 94% Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson was a known racist and a hater. He didn't like black folks at all, right? But you had the Civil Rights Bill, the what we call the Welfare Act of 1965, 1968, which was the Fair Housing Act. This right here, what they passed, and this is why Lyndon B. Johnson say, by implementing this, we can have the blacks voting Democrat for the next 200 years, something like that, right? He said in so many words, the N word, to be exact, right? Because he was correct. Because when you give black folks things, what appears to be good, which was it was really designed to lock down the black vote for good. Because whites knew the psychology of black people even then. When white folks give something to black folk is gonna hold on to it and they're gonna cherish it, right? And this is exactly what ended up happening. This is why blacks today are still married to the Democrat Party. Make no mistakes about it, right? This is what ended up happening. This is why we have this situation where more blacks are married to the Democrats, right? Because when they think about it, they look at what Lyndon B. Johnson did for black folks than Abraham Lincoln. Because Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Martin Luther King was a Republican, right? But with King, right, and Lyndon B. Johnson, and Lyndon B. Johnson hated King, right? He called him all kind of N-words as well, too. But what you guys don't know is the history of as to why the great shift, the great migration, right, to the Democratic Party because of Barry Goldwater, that was a Republican, right? But the majority of Republicans stood against the segregationists. This is a fact, right? They stood against this, right? They weren't for it, they were against it. Barry Goldwater did not want to sign off on it. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't want to upset the Southern whites, right? And that's what ended up happening, right? So here it is. This is why we in this space today. You guys have to understand, right, what the big picture is. Because like I said before, when you start looking at the Democrat history, because yeah, you voted for him ever since, but you haven't gotten nothing. You even had Barack Obama, right? Barack Obama was we already know he served 8 terms, right? 8 years, right? So he only had 2 terms, 8 years, right? Total. Name me a policy that benefited America. I'm talking about America, especially for blacks. Was there anything written for the blacks? Not one thing. You know what was written besides the blacks? The LGBTQ community, because they were 4%, 4% over 13%, right? We needed policies, ladies and gentlemen, that can stop. The number one killer in the black community is abortion, right? Not gun violence, but abortion. Black women abort their children by the millions. This is why black folks have never reached over 13%, right? Because the Democrats make it so cavalier to have an abortion, right? You're doing things outside of your Christian value ways, right? If you don't stand on anything, you're going to fall for everything. And that's what happened. You guys don't call this stuff out. Here's my biggest criticism of black liberal Democrats. You guys will never call out your party. You constantly vote for something and you're not getting nothing back in return. What sense does that make, right? How are you going to sit up here and vote for something and don't get nothing? You know, that's what we don't, enough with symbolism. We're not looking for the first black anything anymore. It's just all about what we are looking for. And another thing that really irks me is that when y'all came for Chili from TLC, Rhonda Chili Thomas, y'all came for that woman because she donated to Trump. And she told the reason as to why she donated. She was talking about how Trump has a policy, and which it is, because he said he was going after human trafficking, child sex trafficking. He said he was going after them, and they have been going after these people, right? And the other thing is with the vets. The veterans deserve our respect because they put their life on the line for this country. So those were the things that she said why she voted for Trump, which makes a lot of sense. But like I said before, the black community is very, very cultish in their ways, right? They're very, very cultish. They do not have any type of critical thinking because, like I said, what rules the black man is the black woman. Black men would not cross step or not get out of lockstep with the black woman because he's afraid of being criticized. He's afraid of being ridiculed. He's afraid of being called a Sambo, a bootlicker, and so forth. A lot of black folks are terrified when other black folks call them out as being a sellout. Thus, this is why we have this situation, right? See, I stand alone. I'm my own man, and I'm independent. No black woman ruled me. No one else ruled me. I only have one mama. You know what I'm saying? But I don't allow them to tell me who to vote, tell me what to say, tell me what to think. We, brothers, man, and sisters, you got to start thinking for yourselves and stop allowing these poverty pimps telling you who you should vote for. I call out Roland Martin. I call out Al Sharpton. I also call out Willie D and all these other clowns, right? What's this other one that we know? We got Tavis Smiley, right? He's another one, right? We also have Ricky Smiley, right? We have D.L. Hughley, right? These people are, a lot of them are entertainers or journalists, whatever the case may be. But the problem is they're not putting no money in your pocket. They're only telling you who to vote for. That's why I say the Democratic slave plantation has to stop. It has to be ended. We deserve better. And we must do better, right? We can't sit up in here and expect these poverty pimps to continuously preach and spread lies, right, about the Democratic Party. Most of your liberals are very racist on the left. This is what blacks are confused. They think that it's a right-wing situation, but the people that have been oppressing you have always been on the left, right? Just think about it, right? But I know some of you don't like this type of, information. You may call it rhetoric, but it takes courage to stand up as a man and a woman, right? And as long as you're going to stay on your knees and try to kowtow for black women and try to appease the so-called black community, this is the reason why we never prosper. We never come into prominence, because you guys are listening to people like Umar Johnson. This is another one, right? There's a list of them, right? You know what I'm saying? You got the Nation of Islam and all the rest of them, Hebrew Israelites. We can name all these religious sects, right? Because they don't do nothing in the black community, right? You listen to Boyce Watkins, you listen to all these poverty pimps. They all got their money. And guess how they got their money? Off of your despair, right? Right? Off of your misfortune, right? You ain't benefiting. How are you benefiting supporting these people? These are nothing more than modern day Sambos today. That's a fact, because we haven't gotten nothing. Think about it. The community have never prospered. We never got past 13% population in America, right? We never have. Think about it, right? Why you think this is? Oh, you say, oh, this is a Democrat Party. How you going to say that? Well, yeah, they're all intertwined. The NAACP is useless. The Urban League is useless. None of these organizations work on the behalf of black people. Many of you haven't even looked at the modern Civil Rights Bill of 1964. You'll be very surprised to see that white women are included in the Civil Rights Bill of 1964. You know, it's been revived so many times. And guess what? They've been slowly removing. It was originally a black issue originally, because we were the only people, our ancestors, that have went through what we call racism. They went through slavery, Jim Crow. Whites and others did not, but none of y'all do not challenge the Democrat Party, and you are afraid to. That's why. I've talked to many liberals. I got friends that are liberal, and my same question stands. Why don't you challenge your party, right? Because you ain't getting nothing from it. You know what we get in return, right? Disenfranchisement, underserved communities, crime, drugs, gang activity, rape, and everything that's going on in the black community. Abortion is the number one. Gun violence. This is what we get. You know why? Because they want these issues and they want to exacerbate these issues. Keep it going so they can get paid for it, though, right? And you have been sold out, sold up the creek without a paddle. It's true, right? These poverty pimps cannot help you. They cannot save you. They talk this black talk rhetoric, but on the real side of it, check it out. They don't give a damn about the black community. And if you don't give a damn about the black community, they're not going to give a damn about the black community, right? We don't, as far as I'm concerned, we don't even have a community no more, because you can't have a community when you have women and children with no father. And that was the plan too with the Welfare Act of 1965, right? It decimated us as a family unit. It broke up the nucleus of the black family structure, right? This is why black women are having children by the load, right? And welfare to go right along with it. And one caveat, the black man cannot be in the home with the black woman if she's receiving welfare. Some of you guys been around in the 70s. There was a movie that depicted this called Claudine. It was played by Diana Carroll and James Earl Jones, right? It's called Claudine. If you watch that movie, and that was a real life representation of how it was after the 60s. She was a welfare recipient with 5 children. The father dipped out on her, right? And then James Earl Jones was trying to get next to Diana Carroll. I remember watching that movie as a kid at the movies, me and my brother, right? So therefore, I'm just want to break it down and explain to you guys what is happening. People are waking up. You got Nick Cannon that is waking up. You got Nicki Minaj that is waking up. You got Snoop Dogg that's waking up. You got Kodak Black that's waking up. You have Lil Wayne that's waking up, right? You have many others that are waking up and trying to educate black folk. You have been duped. You have been hoodwinked, and you have been bamboozled. And this is why your party, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about on the left, they can't do nothing for you. I haven't seen not one black man or woman call out their party. And you should, because you have every reason and right to do so. You got a white man. How is it a white man, John Featherman, can call out the Democrat Party, but you guys as black can't? And I know why, because most black men in the so-called black community are terrified of black women. That's a fact. I always say that all the time, right? I stand on that because I saw the cowardice all my life growing up. It's cowardice. We got these strong black men, but they kowtow and bow down to black women. Why? That's the question, right? Because we have to look at it. We have to talk about it. And that is, we don't really have, and we know why some of these issues are, because they was raised by black women and they weren't raised by their father. And that's why we have a lot of this soy boy action stuff. They come in my room trying to be disruptive, right? They try to troll. They want to say that this is BS and lies, but they're afraid to call out their own party, just like they won't go up against the black woman. The black woman controls the so-called black community. You have to understand this. This is why you have the sisterhood, right? The black sisterhood is one of the worst creations that was ever put together, right? Because they champion and fight for each other when it come down to what we call not about being morally right, but morally wrong. You know, it's what Aaron McGruer, the creator of Boondocks, he said, the so-called black community, right, has run out of its moral currency, quote, right? I'll take it, I'll say this. When it come down to the so-called black community, we do not have a moral compass anymore because we are being overshadowed and overran by what we call a broken people, right? The people where what's opposite seems what bad is good and good is bad. And that's what we've been bombarded with, right? We've been lied to, and we don't have that love, because in order to have love, you got to have a moral compass. And as a people, as black folks, we truly don't love each other. You have to understand this, right? Because we don't have a moral compass, right? Look around. You think these little kids are going to church today? Do you think that do they believe in God today? Do they pray today? If you guys are wondering, you guys created it. You guys didn't stand out against this wicked party. And yeah, I'm talking about you baby boomers. I'm talking about you Generation X's, right? Because that's where it happened. 1964. That's the timeline where blacks jumped off of the Republican Party and jumped onto the Democrat Party. Lyndon B. Johnson got the black vote. It pushed him of having it by 94%, right? This is the history. So if Roland Martin is going to come out here and try to educate black folks about how the great myth party switch happened when it come down to Southern whites and so forth, he's a liar, right? If he tries to try to thread this needle. Because like I said, I noticed with these so-called black leaders, they would never call out their party. They know damn well that the Dixiecrat Democrats was the ones that started Ku Klux Klan. They were the ones that had the Night Riders. They were the ones that had the black laws, which is the Jim Crow laws, right? Right? What about the segregation, and what about redlining? All those were Democrat policies, man. And I read books on this though too, right? So there that is, right? This stuff that I'm saying is solidified in facts. And that's why they won't talk about it. Because if they do, it would cause their party, it would be discredited. And they would actually be kicked out of their position. You have to understand, these people are questionable, not just questionable, but I'm going to go out on a limb to say that these are your modern sellouts today that holds the seat of power over the so-called black community. It's a fact. None of them can offer any type of solutions to fix anything. All they do is cape for black women to get that money. It's not really a lot of black men that's paying the money. It's black women. Black women pay money with the tithing in the church. Black women give to these so-called pro-black organizations and all the rest of that stuff. Black women gives a lot of money. Black men just there following the black woman. If you want to find, here it is. More black women go to church than black men, right? It's less black men that's in the church. More black women go to church, young and old, right? That's a fact, right? If we was taught back then, if you want a good woman, you go to church. That's what we were taught. I don't know about her being good, but we were taught that, right? It's the same thing in the nightclub. Women come in there, the men got to pay. Same thing, right? That's basically what it is. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. You look at any Christian church today, it's overran by women, black Christians, right? Black church, the mother church, right? That is the major parishioners are black women by the droves, right? So the thing about it is simply this, going back on this other point. When you see like Trump, blacks for Trump and all this other stuff, this is not something that's a lie. It's the truth. It's the truth, right? Democrats hate Americans. Isn't that right? They sure do. Democrats not only hate black folks, but they also hate Americans because Democrats hate the Constitution, right? This is the reason why the 27 amendments, a lot of these amendments had to be created to stop the unfair things that were happening to black people. You know, our ancestors was basically put in a bad place, in a bad space. This is what ended up happening. You know, somebody got to tell the truth and the history of what really happened, right? This is exactly what's going on. This is exactly what's going on. So I just want to talk to you guys about this stuff, man, because once again, you know, if you don't know this stuff, and you know, they do not like or love America. They're anti-American. They are anti-constitution. They believe in big government, overreaching government, taking your guns away, right? Want to censor your speech instead of freedom of speech. Censorship. They stand for all this stuff, right? You got a party that still pushes abortion. Ain't that funny? They still, black women, once again, abort their babies by the millions. These are facts. If we go and look at the statistics, and even if I were to show you these statistics, you still would not believe it, right? This is the thing about it. This man right here, Trump, making America great again. Look at his stance on his policies. He's over here drilling it with oil in America now. Soon the oil rates and stuff are going to go down, right? But I wanted to put his photo up, and I'm not trolling. I'm very serious. I voted for this man. This is what we voted for. We wasn't getting shit from the Democrats. Tell me what policies, how we benefited. Where did we benefit? We didn't benefit anything, nothing. How did we benefit? I'm not making this up. I'm asking a question. But what I noticed is that when I ask questions with the liberals, they get butthurt, man. They can't handle critical thinking, let alone logic. We're talking common sense questions. I'm not over here speaking way above, but they answer a question with an insult, or they'll change it with another question. That's a deflection tool, right? That's what I'm saying. What else do? They change the goalposts, right? And what they do is they'll blame everything on Trump. That's why I put his photo up here. This is the man that's supposed to be the reason why black people cannot get ahead. This is a man right here where black people can't make money and excel in business. They blame it all on Trump. This is the man right here, right? It's amazing. This is the reason they'll blame him on why they fat, why they have bad health. It's unbelievable what I hear, right? They blame this man right here, right? That's what they do. And they make themselves look more and more foolish, right? But they so used to talking and dealing with echo chambers. See, with Democrats are not used to debating. With conservative Republicans, MAGA Republicans, we used to dealing with debates. They're not. They don't know how to debate. They get all butthurt as soon as you ask them a question. They fall apart. Snowflakes that they are. They can't handle real conversation, dealing with real people and real things. They have no idea of how to do that. They come in here acting like little boys and little girls, right? Call them out on their BS all the time, though, right? This is one of the main reasons that MAGA been taking over. We have so strong today out there, right? So strong. You got the Democrats that are against a lot of things. They even against when it come down to the America Save Act. They're against that. They're against this stuff, man. They're against this stuff, right? Let me put up something else here too. Things Democrats have in 2026. No solutions, no policies, no integrity, no leadership, no talent, no hope, no joy, no love for America. Ain't that about right? Ain't that about right? Even the moderates can see this. Moderates that play down the middle, they could see who hates America more. MAGA supporter love America. Democrats hate America. Isn't this accurate that you guys are seeing right here? This is very accurate. Nobody have to make up stuff about the deals. And I'm going to be doing more videos like this, right? Because it's time now. I got to start. I talked to my producer and everything. So it's time to start doing this. And at the same time, it'll be an educational piece. So therefore, I'm not as distracted, right? But this is what it is. That's what the Democrats have offered. They always offered, which is nothing. Same thing with Obama, nothing. Go right down and read down the list, nothing. They also offer nothing but a bunch of confusion and delusion, nothing. This is what you voted for on the left, right? This is what you got. This is what you voted for, right? That's exactly what it is. I'm going to come with some other stuff too, but I just wanted to be known to the left and the black voters as well. Can't change your mind and tell you and force you. I wouldn't do that anyway, but I will give information, right, where it's common sense and logic when it come down to a policy that works and a policy that don't work. This is, you can apply this to Kamala Harris. Kamala, you can apply this to her, right? Because this is the same thing that happened, right? We can apply this to her. She didn't have no solutions. She didn't have anything. That's why she lost. They had to cheat the numbers just to make it look like, that she didn't lose that bad. You know what I'm saying?
Hello.
I want to talk to you.
What? You want to know now?
We're there after two.
Brown brush. I mean,
I was waiting for you to say it, and it loved it.
you're like, how sure? I said, you in the cook.
You may clap.
And your answer is part of the job.
So, okay, she don't need that.
Sure.
Okay. You're welcome. Pull out a Venn diagram.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have to listen to that for 4 years or so. I'm so glad we dodged that bullet, right? We would never understand, right? Free does not mean free, right? Number two, you are not entitled to someone else's hard-earned money ever. Number three, you cannot tax a nation into prosperity. Number four, the rich are not responsible for your financial situation. You are. Number five, more government always means less freedom. You guys should remember this type of stuff. Everything that I'm saying, this is what the Democrats believe in. And you notice one thing with the Democrats again. I'm talking about the Democrat so-called elites. You know, like Chuck Schumer and all the rest of them. You know, they all millionaires, right? All of them are millionaires. And another thing, by them being the millionaires, they have smoke for people, right, that are billionaires. You notice they never talk about millionaires no more. They talk about billionaires. If they talk about millionaires, it would also, it put the spotlight on them. And like we said, we got to keep putting the spotlight on Chuck Schumer and all the rest of them. How did they really get their money? How did they get all these millions of dollars? This is the question that you should be asking and demanding answers for real, for real. Trump have already did RICO law investigation on the low-down Democrat Party, because the money is not mathing. It's not adding up. We have to get down to it. It's us as the citizens, not citizens, but us as we the people of the United States of America. We demand the know factual information where this money is coming from, right? We have to know. It ain't just Ilhan Umar, but it's a lot of them. We need to shake the trees and find out what's hiding up in there. And they're already doing that already. Because like I said, when we look at it, more government always means less freedom. And this is what the Dems believe in. They believe in big government, as I said before. Big government, right? Telling you that rich people are the reasons, they're responsible, right, for why you are in a situation right now. You cannot tax a nation into prosperity. How can you do it? Because taxes is a debt income system, which means they set this up since 1913, right? Now, they set this up once again to extract and pull hard-earned money that you and I make. And they take a percentage of taxes out that doesn't go to where they say it goes to, but it goes to enriching themselves. It's a con game, man. Don't sit up here and allow them to brainwash you and thinking like paying taxes is the way to go. Remember 1776. You guys remembered it, right? When they broke away from England. They broke away from England because England they have a central bank over there. And taxation, I don't care who you are, you cannot prosper paying taxes as a regular person. There's other ways of doing it, but we shouldn't even have to go to other ways, because taxation is unlawful. It always have been. It's just that the central bank, Western Central Bank, which is the Federal Reserve, they have set up and wrote laws like the 16th Amendment to protect their infrastructure. Trump has taken us to what we call a tariff income-based system, which means that the money is coming from other countries of the world coming into America. Trump don't need to tax people here in America. That is unlawfully wrong. You cannot get rich. You cannot get ahead. And when you have a central bank, I don't care what business you have, you can't escape inflation, right? Because we're still in a high inflationary period right now. It won't go down as long as the central bank, which is the Federal Reserve, exists in America. Straight like that. And I just wanted to segue that in to the conversation that we're having, because I'm giving you all the stuff on the left of what they stand for, which is a bunch of BS. They have been robbing us, ripping us off. Look this up. Look at it. Jasmine Crockett, she's worth $9 million. The question is, she has a law degree, right? You don't make that kind of money as a lawyer or a politician. Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren, she's worth $77 million. How does she have all this money? Never worked. She's a lot of them are career politicians. That's why we got to put term limits on the Senate seat as well as the Congress seat. Congressional seat, Senate seat must have term limits. If they allow to continuously do what they do, they're going to always be corrupt. It's always a corrupt system where the people inside of the club make all the money. That's why with that USAID fund, they were ripping Americans off. That slush fund, that was going for the Democrats. The Democrats fuel war with this. They fuel propaganda, right? Agendas, right? And the destruction of America, right? They were doing all this under the USAID fund because we know what was going on, right? And we talk about gangs and violence. You know, it costs money to start a revolution, and that's what they were doing. It costs money to do this. You cannot run anything without money, and that's what they were doing on the left. They were trying to destroy America within. They knew they couldn't take America with foot soldiers because you got a lot of Americans that own guns. So they had to come up with another way in order to do it, right? And this is why we are at this space right here, ladies and gentlemen. But what I'm saying to you, you can go ahead and research it and look it up for yourself, right? That's what you should do. You have that opportunity to do so. We don't have to sit up in here, right? And as you that voted Democrat, you got to call your party out, right? There's so many things that you guys can call out about your bullshit party, the jackass party. This is why they have the jackass as a donkey. It's a jackass party. Yeah, everybody been played, man. It is what it is. Once again, right? We got to look at this thing and we got to be truthful about it, right? We have to be truthful about what is going on. That's why I made this a video. I'm going to do more videos like stuff like this. Therefore, people can be able to really reach people without being interrupted. And I'm going to deal with the moderators when I talk to them next time. I'm going to deal with that. That way we have more on law and order. Because for me, having to go after the, even though I do enjoy trolling them, but enough of that right now, man. We got to get down to the brass tacks. Midterms are getting closer, right? So therefore, this is why I'm talking the way I'm talking right now. We have a country to save, and we can't leave it for irresponsible people that's only interested in enriching themselves and watching everybody else suffer, right? And that's what they have been. Right? And I'm calling their bullshit party out for what it really is. They are the ones, they are the cause, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly where we are today. Let's go ahead and pull this one up. If President Trump can be impeached, right, and indicted for the fake Russia collusion story, right, then Barack Obama should go to prison for creating it. There we go. Bam. Do you agree with this? Yes or no? Right? And a lot of us in this country agree that Obama, because he's the one that created the whole Russiagate situation in the first place, right? You know what I'm saying? We have these people, these no good ass people that roll with him, trying to overthrow. They were doing. Ain't no trying. They actually did. Now, if Trump was still the president, but they are guilty as sin for trying to remove a sitting president and went against the will of the American people and did not support the vote. The American people chose Trump 2016. They didn't choose, you know what I'm saying? They didn't choose Hillary Clinton. They chose Trump, right? And I can't wait till they get into the 2020 where that was stolen from Trump. Not single-handedly, but he had help doing it. This is why Biden is the selected president. Trump is the elected president. There's a difference between selected and elected. You should look the terms up if you don't know. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and end this, this video here. I just wanted to share some things with you guys. I'm going to pull up another slide or whatever. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and pull up another slide. Because you guys got to really know the truth. We already talked a little bit about the history of the Democrat Party and talked about where it switched at, right? What was going on, right? Like I said, Barry Goldwater, 1964. We went over that already. So therefore, you can watch the videos man. You know, if you share the videos with other people too, that's what you can do. That would be a big help to me if you were to share the videos, right? Share it with other people because that's important. This is so therefore other people can be educated. And I want my young generation, man, you guys got to be on it. Enough with the rap and these video games. You know what I'm saying? This is very serious. You have to know the history, why we are here, why there was a black ghetto communities, why we've been undeveloped and so forth. I should say undeveloped. What's the other word? And things like that. Disparity, right? Misfortune and all this other stuff came about with their bullshit ass leftist policies, right? This is where it happened, right? We know the timelines when it happened, though. Let's go ahead and tell the truth on it, right? Because these poverty pimps, as I said before, they cannot save you. They're only there to protect their own neck and to make sure that they still get that money. They're the ones that are living in $1 million and above mansions. That's why they always talk about billionaires to take your emphasis and attention off of what's really matters. They act like they're doing you a favor by talking about billionaires when in fact they are the ones, these millionaires class, right? And a lot of them are politicians as well, right? This is exactly what it is. What about this one right here? This is another one. Mr. Krusty himself. This is Soros, George Soros, right? Look at how many organizations. He's being investigated by Trump too. I'm giving you a reason why these guys are being investigated. It ain't just because he's Jewish. It's because of the dark money, defund the police, ADL, right? We got this lawfare stuff, open borders, Democrat Party, colorless society, and all the rest of the stuff. Open society. This guy and many others like him that are behind the scenes. Trump have already exposed the people, and this is why a lot of you talking about Hamas got the you know what sign there. So these people are part of the problem. They are the problem. You have been hoodwinked and bamboozled by him, Bill Gates, Eric Kessler. There's a lot of others. There's some key players, and these guys are billionaires, right? These are not millionaires. These are billionaires, right? So there are some truth to the Democrats about these billionaire, elite class. Your Rothschilds, right? Your Rockefellers, right? Yeah, right? But here it is. They set up a lot of these people over here on the left, and they are millionaires, and they're just as guilty for the situations and the problems that we have in here in America. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and stop this right here. I just wanted to bring this stuff up. We needed to talk about it, find out what was going on and things. So this is why I support Trump. And I will not apologize for it, right? I will not. We don't have to apologize for supporting this man at all. Because he did so much for standing up for America, though. And these people did not. These people did not. Right here, Democrats hate Americans, and they do. They hate the world, too. They hate anybody, right? This is exactly what it is, right? And it's here. Things the Democrats have in 2026. No solutions, no politics or policies, no integrity, no leadership, no talent, no hope, no joy, no love for America. Facts. This is what we've been dealing with here. These are lioness, treasonous, traitorous, betrayal type of people that hate America. And we're going to call them out on it. Soon, one day, we're going to start seeing arrest with these people because they don't mean us no good. No good at all. No good. So for all of you poverty pimps that have pimped America and pimped the black community for so long, I'm talking about black folks, and why you in a situation, I'm going to call them out again. I'm talking about your poverty pimps, whether in the religious sector and anything else. They do not put their money in the black bank. They put their money in a white bank. But they tell you to put your money in the black bank, right? Where they don't even deal with black banks. They deal with white banks, white banking institutions. That's a fact. That's who they deal with. They got all their money in white banking institutions. Now, I don't have no problem. I keep my money in a white banking institution. But here it is. I'm not the one telling black people to put your money in the black bank. They are the one, some of the ones that are doing it. I'm not. At least I'm going to keep it consistent and real. I'll put my money in a white bank because a white bank is backed by the a certain amount of insurances that's backed on that bank. But they have more more faith in the black bank, a white bank than a black bank. That's a fact. So this is why these clowns and these guys are your modern day sellouts, your jigaboos, and your Sambos and so forth, right? Modern day Uncle Ruckus in full effect, offered no solutions. We could say the same thing about these poverty pimps. No solutions, no policies, no integrity, no leadership, no talent, right? No hope, no joy, no love for America. We could say the same thing about these black poverty pimps, right? In the so-called religious sector, where all they're doing is enriching themselves, though. Man, I tell you, man, I love banging on these people. And they deserve to be banged on because they don't offer no solutions. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys and things talking about it, talking about the history of the Democrats and party, the history of racist Democrats and so forth, white liberals and all the rest of this stuff. And I think I may have one more. Hold on for a minute. I'm going to show another one here. Then I'm going to be out. Yeah, but just want to show you guys. Let me see here if I have it. And yeah, this is more like Obama. The world's most wanted terrorist, Obama bin Laden. I know that's right. This is what we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen. The Muslim Brotherhood, right? We're talking about state-funded terrorists. We're talking about Iran. This guy right here. This is the one right here. This is why we got a lot of Muslims over here in this country. And I'm not saying for every Muslim, but we have sleeper cells and all this other stuff. I'm willing to bet on the farm that, yeah, this is the thing right here. This is what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I tell you. Yep, the plot thickens, doesn't it? The plot thickens. But he'll never be great as this man right here. He will go down in history for not only saving America, but it's going to be so much more. You wait and see. For all you naysayers, all you turncoats that turn against Trump, all you liars, you're going to have your day. And when you do, remember my words. When you bet on Trump, you always win. When you bet against Trump, you always lose. And Trump has been batting over 1,000, right, with the wins against the Dems, right? You guys stay encouraged, stay loved, and I'm going to do another video as well. I'm going to start doing those. But I really appreciate my supporters. I appreciate the DMs, my moderators. I appreciate my moderators, my supporters, and things for coming in this room, backing your boy up, supporting me and things like that. And like I said, if you like this video and things, I got my Cash App, and I should show my Cash App. Oops. This is what I'm going to do before I end the live stream. Give me one moment here. I'm going to go ahead and show my, where is it here? There it is. Just going to show this. There it is at the top. All right. And then what we're going to do is instead of it doing a ticker, I'm going to slow it down and things. So position it down at the bottom. Let's do that here. Position it down at the bottom. And let's slow it down. There we go. And save it. Then we're going to go ahead and show it. There we go. And that's my Cash App. I appreciate it. That's my Cash App right there for those that can see it and things. And I appreciate the other stuff, So other than that, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you supporting me. It's almost an hour at the mark, and we're going to keep it about an hour from now on in. All right. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. In fact, I may do another video later on tonight. But you guys, once again, stay encouraged. Thank you for listening to me and things like that. I do read the emails, as well as comments and stuff like that. So yeah, I do read comments and I do reply back most of the time. So if I don't get back in a timely manner, stay encouraged. I'll catch up with it if the comment makes sense. If it's a bunch of rhetoric and stupidity and stuff and insults, those don't get read. Maybe they will. They will get read, and maybe I'll respond depending on what it is that you're saying to me. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm gonna start making more videos. Peace and chicken grease, man. I am out. I appreciate you guys as well. All right. You guys have a wonderful day.